Alright, this here is to clear up some information on 5.4 liter and 4.6 liter fuel injectors. Factory fuel injectors, not high performance. These are fuel injectors off of a factory 5.4 liter, first generation 5.4 liter.
About 99.
Yeah, 99. So that would be approximately 07 to 99, somewhere in that range. But these are off of a 99. There seemed to be some mass discrepancy about a one-size-fits-all project with Bosch and Ford part numbers. Bosch lists several different numbers, or two different numbers rather, for this particular fuel injector. But the Ford part number seems to be the same for this particular injector. Now, if this injector was the 4.6 liter injector, it would have a different Ford part number, but the same Bosch number. I don't understand exactly how that works.
Bosch number and for 5.4 liter and some 4.6 liters.
Right. So this is to clear up some of the confusion for some of the smart asses on the forums, especially the Ford forums, on the F-150 forums, and then some of the other forums, because they don't know the answer to a question. They would rather just leave someone hanging. I get that. Okay. But I don't like it. But I don't subscribe to those kind of forums. They just kind of make me mad when I run across them, because some kid's trying to ask a question and some smart ass old timers answering them, or some newcomer is trying to answer them and he doesn't know the answer to the question. So is there a difference between the 5.4 liter and the 4.6 liter two valve, we'll just say a two valve engine, fuel injector? Yes, there is, especially in the early years. The later years, I think Ford and Bosch got together and made a one-size-fits-all, roughly around 19 psi. Is that right?
Yeah, about 19 psi.
About 19 psi injectors?
Some bench tests say 18.5 for the lower ones.
Well, you're going to get many discrepancies across many different sites.
Even people,
Okay. Now, I bought some rebuilt, so to speak, Reman, $250 for 8 of them.
5.4 liter.
5.4 liter fuel injectors. They had a part number of, let's see. Let's find this part number. Can you zoom into that part number? Because I can't see from here.
Yeah.
It's too small.
Hold it still if you can.
I'm trying.
280-150-556.
That's Bosch's number?
Yep, that's on the Bosch side.
Okay. What's the Ford part number?
F0TE-D5B.
So this is a B.
That's a B.
This is a B. The ones in the truck are an A.
That's the ones that we bought.
Right. So the ones that are in the truck are A. They say that they fit the 5.4 and the 4.6 liter.
The B's fit 5.4, 4.6.
Yes, but the person that I bought the other Reman injectors from said that A fits 5.4 and 4.6.
Well, some sites say that A only fits 4.6 and that's it.
Right.
5.4.
Exactly. But here's the difference in these injectors. The ohms on these B injectors are for 5.4 liters, or that came out of a factory first gen 5.4 liter, have a lower ohm reading by 1.1, which would tell me that basically, based on Ohm's law or just common knowledge, that anything that has a lesser ohm takes
less oomph to push it.
With the same charge, the same amperage, and the same battery power, 12 volts per se, it would take less, it would be harder on the battery, but it would activate the solenoid in this either faster or for a longer duration.
Like 1 ohm subwoofer, 2 ohm subwoofer. Right?
Yeah, basically the same as an audio sound system or a voice coil on a subwoofer, or just any type of coil. So there's less windings in this B versus an A, because the A is 14.4, and these bench test at 14.3, which means that I'm not a genius at this, but I would have to say that these would respond faster to 12 volts. Either faster, a longer duration, or depending on what your Ford computer is telling it to do.
And you know what the big kicker of it is all? On those bench test sites that list big graphs of Bosch fuel injectors. Bosch has two different injectors that use that same part number right there. That Bosch number takes up two different injectors. One puts out 18.5 0.25 gallons per hour, and one puts out 20 per hour. An extra 1.5 gallons per hour.
Is that per hour or is that the PSI?
Per hour.
Okay, the PSI is the same, 43.
I guess that would imply that either
43.5, right?
Yeah, I guess that would either imply it stays open longer or the holes in the bottom are bigger. But the point is, it's the same number, but it's two different fuel injectors.
So that can only bring me to one conclusion: that the early models and the early Gen 5.4 liters had a different fuel injector than the 4.6 liter. It wasn't until the later, I guess, PI heads came into play, and they started making a one-size-fits-all across the 5.4 and 4.6 liter. So if you have an early model 5.4 liter, there's a very good possibility that you would have a slight performance difference if you used an A versus a B. Because the B is the 5.4 and the A is the 4.6 in the early years.
Or a 5.56 Bosch versus I think it's a 9.43. The last three numbers changed from 5.56 to 9.43, I think.
Right.
But at the pull ours out. But I think that's what the number difference is.
Okay. So I'm going to go with the original Bosch, which have pretty low miles on it, I know, because I have several 5.4 liters hanging around here. And I know that these come out of an engine with less miles. Now the ones with the blue O-rings came out an engine with more miles. So less miles, more miles. But these are the exact same, and they both come out of a 99 engine. Okay? So we'll put the one over there, and the ones we're going to use to clean up here, we're going to I guess what you would call rebuild them, reman them, we're going to bench test them, make sure that they're doing all right. So basically what we have here is what other people have done in the past. We have a can of brake parts cleaner or carburetor cleaner, whatever. We stole a vacuum line off of a factory 5.4 liter engine. I think this was the vacuum line that controlled the
went to the throttle body in a tree fashion.
Yeah, this is probably the fuel pressure regulator, rubber boot. So we got it over the injector, and what we did was we put a little pressure on it, and it's coming back through here.
But there's no leak down, is there?
And there's no leak down out of the ports, which that's good news, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be a leak down test.
Right. We've already primed it, so we've got the fluid down here to the bottom. So what we're going to do is take these two alligator clips we got on here and make sure they're not touching, and we're just going to pop 12 volts to it really quickly. Do we have 12 volts to this piece of shit? What the fuck, dude? Okay, so we're ass out on a battery here because I guess Joe Biden's dark winter kind of fucking with our lead acid batteries. Thanks to climate change douchebags. Alright, so we'll resume this meeting in a second.
Oh yeah, information on voltage. 12 volts, right?
12 volts activates these fuel injectors. Okay, 5 volts, I don't know where 5 volts came from. I don't know if Haynes said that. I don't know who said that, but 12 volts activate these.
I think 5 volts for the coil packs.
5 volts could possibly very well go for the coil packs. But we're gonna test this. I mean, I got a coil pack over there. You can push your tongue on the end of it, and I can hook 12 volts up and see what happens. But let's go find a working battery. Okay, let's do a momentary test. I heard it.
Heard it click too. There we go.
Okay. kind of mist we got coming out?
Spray pattern. Like a spray bottle.
Hey, they were dirty. I saw some shit come out. Okay, so 12 volts activate these very well.
Should we face them off the end, see what they look like? No, I see. They're misting.
Should I get my cigarette lighter and see what they do?
Sure can.
Set this dryer on fire? Okay. Disconnect that battery terminal over there.
Alright.
Okay, obviously there's a much easier way to do this if you guys want to set up and get all anal about it. And I don't blame you. Go ahead and do what you want to do. But here's a wood screw, right? So we take a wood screw and we jam it in this
There's a brass sleeve in there with a
fuel injector. Take it, spin it in a little bit, try to get it straight.
You're basically threading into a brass sleeve trying to get it out, right?
Right, and then take and hook you this way and wiggle and pull. And now you have your brass tip with your screen. Okay? That screen's 99 since 1999. It's almost 20 years old. But it actually is 20 years old, approximately.
Sure.
Isn't it?
About 20 years old, yeah.
Close to it. Okay. So there's your screen. And in your kit that you can buy online to rebuild your injector, you get your little brass doodaddy. Do we have our ohm meter out here?
No. I can go get it real quick, though.
Well,
get our own
just
meter.
hang on for a minute. I want to do this non-politically correct video for folks about the B injectors and how to rebuild them real quick and all that bullshit. So let's dump out what we need.
This is specific on the 5.4, and I guess partially the 4.6 too.
Yeah, you could do an A injector the same. Here's our screen. Looks relatively the same. Actually, looks like a tiny bit smaller than our regular screen.
I know somebody else has been using those Bosch fuel injectors called the model EV1.
What about them? Look, we'll pull our straw off, clean out the douche hole.
Somebody else noticed that same that the
Is that clean inside? Looks good?
Yeah.
Alright.
From yeah. That the sleeves themselves, the brass sleeves with the
Take our screen.
with the screens on them, were smaller than factory.
Well, as long as they catch the dirt and they stop my injectors from clogging up, that's great. So then you start your little brass sleeve like that, and some people say take a brass hammer and all this bullshit, beat it in there. But I'd almost turn this injector upside down and tap it on something, but I'm not gonna. Just stop there for a minute.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to take this big nasty carpenter's hammer right here, clean the tip of it off, sand out of it. I'm going to tap our brass sleeve in. Till it stops. And that completes our injector.
About flush.
Alright, now we would take, this is our old O-ring, right? In the box. This is our little hat, our little injector spray pattern cap, the one that falls off inside your cylinder and you spit it out the exhaust valve. That's why it's made of plastic, by the way. So you take your little O-ring, and what you'll need is 2 of these O-rings. 2 O-rings. I don't know why I'm showing y'all this. Y'all probably figure this shit out yourself. But you take 2 of these O-rings here, and they're already lubed up with some Chinese guy's lube. And you put them on like this.
Chine lube.
Yeah, chai lube. And then put that on there. And you would take this little ring here. It's a spacer. You put that little spacer on there. you put your other ring on this side, right, like that. All right, and so your holes are clean, and we've already pre-cleaned these with PB Blaster,
which can be used on electrical.
Yes,
devices.
PB Blaster has no graphite in it, so it can be used on electrical parts. So we used PB Blaster, which is nothing more than probably some old guy left some diesel to sit out for some length of time, and it went stale, and they made PB Blaster out of it, because it's basically what I think it is. And then you put your little caps with your little hole right there in the center, right there, that tiny little hole, and it gives you your little spray pattern over your 4 little holes. You take your cap and you press your cap on there. There. And there you go. There is one rebuilt injector, and it has been bench tested. And one thing we need to do is check the ohms on it and make sure that the ohms match all the rest. So we'll stop that, and we'll get a stupid ohm meter, and we'll test that, and we'll show you.
14.0.
Yeah. Check it. Alright, so my shitty ohm meter is slightly uncalibrated, but we got 14 on these injectors. Uh-oh, it's getting closer to 14.3.
Yep.
But it's 14. Okay. As long as they all read the same ohms, I can buy that. But if there was something off, let's test this next one here. You know, these terminals were cleaned with PB Blaster, so they could stand a little bit better cleaning. Look at that. See, that one's 14 too. We're gonna stick with that. 13.9.
Scratch the terminals a little bit, should get better.
14.0. So it's not an exact science with these shitty ohm meters, even though this is supposed to be O'Reilly's best. Whatever. You know. Close enough for me.
Yeah, as long as you're not off by 2 points. 2 solid points.
Well, you want to check them all, and I've already, I cheated. I already tested them all, and they all tested the same. I tested them with a dead battery, and they all read like 8 ohms. And I was like, okay, at least they're all reading the same. And then I had a battery symbol. So, and it's still, like I said, we got Joe Biden's weather out here.
So all the 9-volt batteries are partially dead.
Right.
In the weather.
Right. So we got like, a climate crisis on our hands. Man-made, whatever. Chemtrails, happy trails, all that shit. So what's next?
That's it. We just
do the douche on this. Got to get this screen off of here. Look how old that screen is, right? It looks copper to me. So take your pliers, I guess, and you would remove your old screen. And here's a pain in the ass where 2 pliers come into play, and then unscrew your other screen, take it off, throw it in your bucket of other shit. If you're good on that, we'll just go ahead and rebuild this injector. The same thing, if this is what you want to call rebuilding an injector. I mean,
hey, it's either that or you send it off to somebody for $100.
Fuck that. Why would you do that? Then we wouldn't be Shade Tree Automotive, right?
No, it'd be No Tree Automotive. No tree, no motive.
We'd be dependent, right? I mean, you can't exactly do this in the apocalypse, right?
Yeah, you can.
I mean, look at that screen. It's kind of weird. Look, we're gonna color that one, huh?
Yeah, you can do that in the apocalypse. You got a screw on the side of the road, right?
Dude, I broke down on an RM125 one time in the middle of nowhere, and I found, I think it was an old railroad nail or something, and 2 rocks, and I beat the link out of my chain, and I fastened the link together with no master link and beat the link back in and forced the chain on the sprocket by rolling the bike forward as hard as I could, and the chain was super tight and I was sure it was going to pop, but I made it all the way home, several miles away, when I used to run motocross. So I had a pretty good time doing this whole apocalypse thing. So I don't know how I would do as an older feller now, but I still think I'd have a good time. All I know is, if we have an apocalypse, fellas, call me Shade Tree so that I know who you are, so I don't run you over with my cattle guard and my welded crumple zones and my apocalypse vehicles.
Shh, don't talk. Feds are listening.
Feds are always watching my channel. So are liberal trolls.
Feds are watching everyone's channel, technically.
Always trying to get me to monetize my channel. I hate that. And the trolls come out the woodwork. I believe good information should always be free. That's what makes us America. Of course, I could go capitalist on you and say, look, I'm charging you for everything. But I think we got enough of those, rubber glove wearing, watch what you say, make sure everything is politically correct, and make sure you bow to your fans on your channel. No, that's not how this works. You come to my channel to look up useful information. If you don't like the way that I speak, try to ignore that and get the useful information, and then go on about your business. That's how the United States is supposed to work. But people have bowed to politically correct nonsense for so long that we now want to run YouTube that way. And eventually, when enough people participate with their little protective gloves and their extra sensitive cancer stuff and all that other crap, we'll turn into a fully communist country. But until that time, I'll keep making videos the way that I want to make them, say the things that I want to say.
Cancer.
I'll keep saying the things that I want to say, and if I want to dip my hands in leaded gas or acid,
rear end fluid,
or diff fluid, or blinker fluid, that's my choice. If I want to install liquid ball bearings in my rear end,
pour some on your hands while you're at it.
That's my choice.
That was a joke.
Yeah, whatever. Some people won't get it. Their sense of humor has went down the toilet, I hope everybody understands that I'm just poking fun and having a good time. And that's what it's supposed to be about in life. It's not supposed to be all serious and about changing your entire lifestyle for one offended individual. Because there's always going to be that one offended individual out there who wants to change the entire country and the entire platform because there's one special little offended person out there. I'm sorry, that's not how we grew up. Generation X, we kicked the ever-living shit out of the offended person, and the rest of the group went on. That's how we did it. And I'm not going to change my lifestyle because someone said, I'm offended. If you're offended, go watch something on knitting a sweater, or go watch somebody carve out a piece of wood, or go watch somebody collect driftwood on the beach, or go watch channels of cats playing. Don't come to Shade Tree Automotive with that bullshit. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a good day now. You hear? Alright, so here's the next day after. We rebuilt those other injectors. The ABs, or were they DBs?
Where D5Bs is the one we rebuilt.
The D5Bs, the early model D5Bs, Bosch.
Yeah.
And here's the ones we took out.
D5As.
They still have the little caps on them and all that, and they have the little plastics. And these were put in after we did a good engine swap. Same engine, year model, and about 3 months apart with less miles. And we have that on YouTube as well. But anyway, here's the injectors that I bought for $200 and something remand.
Turn it around.
Can you see? Can you zoom into that number?
Yep, that's F0TE-D5A. Turn it around.
And that's a Bosch number? Oh, the Ford.
Bosch number's right here. Doesn't get to focus in. There we go. 280-150-943. So it is a different Bosch number. And that number cross-references with 18.25 gallons per hour at 43.5 psi pressure.
Right, so the other injectors cross it between 19 and 20.
Yeah, the other ones had two readings. One reading was for also 18.5, and then one reading was for 20.
Okay, so we just took it for a ride. I just took it for a ride. And there's a big, noticeable difference, I'll say. Noticeable.
Low end.
First of all, it's smoother. That's probably because the ones we put in are cleaner. We cleaned them out. Secondly, they're probably have less miles on them, so they're cleaner. They probably hold fuel better. They haven't been damaged from any, long-term use. I notice in acceleration. How about this? It's fair to say this. It's got about the same pull on takeoff out the hole. However, it's consistent when you hold the pedal. In other words, there's no fluctuation in speed. The RPM is steady without a fluctuation.
So it'll steadily rise up. It won't rise up slower or rise up faster.
No, it's steady. Wherever you keep the pedal is where it stays, and that's a cabled pedal. So it's not a drive-by-wire. So that's a noticeable difference. That could all be because those injectors are cleaner than these and better functioning. However, the thing that I did notice is pressing the pedal less to do the same speed and maintain speed. Going up a bridge or under a load on the interstate, up a overpass or on a ramp or anything like that, there is no giving it a little bit more accelerator pedal to have to keep that same speed. The vehicle keeps that speed.
So throttle response is up?
Overall, yeah. Top end, I haven't put the pedal to the floor yet. Basically what I would have put the pedal to the floor with before, I can do that at half pedal. And I have put it to the floor to hit passing gear, and it felt kind of the same as the other injectors. But there is a noticeable difference. These feel more responsive. Kind of like I predicted. They had less ohms, they feel more responsive. So these A's that came out of a 4.6 liter that was sold to me as marketed as 5.446 universal didn't have the same response. They had more ohms.
Yeah.
So the response was a little bit, I guess, slower. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure
did you notice?
I noticed a little bit of a difference, yeah.
Okay.
I also noticed a difference on how smooth it felt running. That could have been because of how clean the new ones are, like you say.
Well, they're used a lot less. When they sell you these injectors that are remanned,
they're used a lot.
They're used. They could have 250,000 miles on them, and they could have just inspected them, made sure that they were clean, put them through some kind of cleaning machine, and then you still have the same coil mechanisms and the same everything inside of them. They just worn out, or they're older, and they may be more prone to leak down.
The electrical components inside
may get weaker. There's a spring probably inside. It's spring loaded. I haven't pulled one to pieces yet, but I will do that one day on video. But I can imagine it's just a solenoid with a spring behind it and a plunger.
Yeah.
And it would allow it to spray. So that is my observation, and I know because I've owned the same test vehicle for 10 years. Actually 11 years now.
So if you've got a 5.4 liter, go with your F0TE-D5Bs.
And get the older injectors.
Yeah.
You might get more PSI out of them. You might get more, not PSI, but
gallons per hour.
Gallons per hour. So you might get a faster response, a lower ohms.
Yeah.
So more resistance. Anyway, more resistance makes more.
Resistance
I call it.
Just less ohms.
Less resistant gives more throttle response. So 14.3
yes.
ohms.
That 0.1 will make a difference.
And versus 14.4. So to settle the debate, there is a difference.
Yes.
Finally, once and for all, instead of reading it on forums and other bench testing sites and Bosch's site and Bosch Ford sites and Ford experts across all of their forums.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a difference.
Yeah.
All right. Thank y'all for watching.